What I appreciated about what you did there, and Mark, I'll get you to add in, I really appreciated you asking me after I talked about a situation like what practice. So, because it's helping me know what practice I need to add in these times for me. That was really useful. It's the what's missing part, right? And so this is where I'm still feeling wobbly. And I know, given the environment and container and things that are happening around my world, this is a piece I want to build some more capacity around and build some confidence and confidence around. And that was useful.
Well, part of my intention for that was, and it's a big reason of why I do a lot of the work that I do, is wanting to help people to come up with their way, whatever that is for them, so that they can adapt those practices that work for them in the circumstances that affect their life. And sometimes it's a reminder that, oh, I have not been doing that thing that really serves me. It could be meditation or writing or art or something, whatever it is that you need, that you kind of have forgotten about or put aside or let slide, and things build up over time, and it's like we forgot that that thing served us or supported us in some way. So that was part of kind of my hidden ulterior motive for asking you why, what was the practice, or how does that practice serve you? Like, where did that come from? Because the best tools, our best support, generally comes from within. Good. This is today's a hectic day, so I haven't felt like I've had a chance to even catch my wind yet, even though I haven't done anything important yet. It's been like chauffeuring Avery back and forth to an appointment, and then I've got back calls this afternoon. So I'm hoping at some point I'll get a chance to center and breathe and maybe write a bit before I go, so I don't carry my garbage with me the rest of the day.
Yes.
How about you, Mark?
I got coerced into putting my name in the hat as the counselor for the municipal elections coming up.
How do you get
so I can do that in my spare time?
Are you creating more time in your days? Is there like some sort of like time where you're able to slow down the timeline or somehow, and you gain an extra few hours a day?
Yeah, it's a window of opportunity between 2 and 3 afternoon where you can slide in an extra 4 in there.
How about you, Karen?
Oh, well, I was talking to Mark on Friday, and just we are opening up our club, our curling club. And there are people that are having some health issues, so I was supporting, helping them be able to do their part. So kind of like Mark, adding to my plate. And then there was a big bond spill this weekend, which I was the kitchen convener for. So there were a bunch of big pieces that I was juggling, and I found, like I said to Mark, I said, I need the coaching, coffee, and conversations for an hour, just to really kind of become more aware of what happens when, for me, I just feel like there's a lot of disruption going on right now. And noticing how my natural ability, which isn't always a good thing to do, to be able to grab something and, step in and mobilize stuff and move it along. But what I noticed this last week is how it affected my anxiety. So my inability to sleep, I had to get up in the middle of the night and make a list. I don't know if it's the time in my life or my coping strategies. I'm not as comfortable in the multiple layers of getting stuff done now. And I notice my body doesn't like it as much anymore. And so I just wonder, with everything that's going on with change, if other people are noticing that. And I'm curious with you, Mark, because you've got a lot on your plate and you're adding more to it. How does that impact you?
It, oddly enough, is going to sound really weird and probably along the lines of me justifying it, but it actually energizes me because I'm going into a campaign, an election campaign, where I am clearly the underdog. And I had to ask permission to do it for the federal government. You know how it works. And submit myself to all the conditions and the stress of just normally you say, hey, I'm running. You know what? Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's sign the papers. But then once it's done and I'm gathering signatures for the nomination sheet, it's energizing to a certain degree. It's like, okay, here's the time constraint. Here's what I'm going to have to do. Here's how more efficient I am going to be. What else am I letting go of? Which there was another part of my life that I hadn't let go of, but I have to, which is all of my RCMP work. So now all the RCMP work, it allowed me to make that decision to let that go. Because I really can't do both. I mean, math is math. So to answer your question, Ian, how do you fit it? I have to let go of something else. There's just not that much time. At some point, it becomes, it borderlines on ridiculousness. I think we're beyond that point. But I had to let go of stuff. So it's energizing because I was feeling like I was abandoning that calling and that thing that I've done for 34 years of my life. And now it's just like, it's something new and it's a new way of serving because I won't ever not be serving in some way, shape or form. But this allows me to serve in a different way. And for some reason, this is where I'm called to be.
What about you, Ian?
Can you re-ask me the question?
Well, I just said, I was talking about like when things are speeding up and there's just circumstances are asking you to step up a little bit more and support and engage and, and then how I was saying how my anxiety really, I noticed my inability to sleep start to show up, like how my body was reacting to the ramping up of having to get things done in it, the intensity. And I was asking Mark, because he's kind of saying the same thing. And how does he react when things are ramping up like that, where there's just a lot of balls coming at you? Some of them are very, very exciting and that you've planned for, and then the unexpected ones that come at you, there just seems to be like a peak of this happening.
That wasn't a question.
I was giving you the example.
Yeah, you gave me a lot of context around there too. I'm noticing it in my life too, that there seems to be a lot of kind of turnover and change with where I'm at and what I want to do and where I want to spend my time. And it can throw you off. I had the similar experience last night where I couldn't sleep because there's just so many things that I'm trying to think about or get kind of under my control. And they're not things that I can control at this point. They're not. So in some respect, it's kind of figuring out what do I have control over and what don't I have control over. And then being able to put that aside so you can get the rest that you need and you can put your time and energy towards the things that are most priority to you at any given time. And for me, there's a couple that are coming up that I care deeply about and I want to put my energy towards, and that can be stressful. So how are you dealing with that? Kind of like the inner pull in the body as to what you need right now or what you need to focus on.
Myself? Are you asking me that question?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
It is, I really appreciate what Mark said about it's allowing me kind of more of a definitive decision of what I'm not going to do. And I notice what I'm choosing not to do. Now it's formalizing that. So it's, because finishing, I think I've talked about this in my life, in my my habit of being an overcommitter, and how that can really have a negative impact on other people, when I don't go loop back. And if I've made the choice not to continue or to let that slide, not letting someone know that I'm making that choice to do that and to let it slide or let it go. So, Mark, that's really helpful, because the rebalancing for me of, okay, that's something I worked on. And when you started to say that, I could feel a lot more calmness in my body. That what's making me uncomfortable right now is that I need to go and make a list and just loop back to the things that I'm not going to do.
So life is forcing your hand a little bit, as to kind of like Mark's saying too, you've got 24 hours in a day. You've got these things on your plate. What are you going to keep and what are you going to let go of? What's coming to mind for you, Mark, right now?
I was thinking about the last few days as I was hunting season that started, and I was sitting in my very quiet tree stand for 3 and 4 hours straight on my own, having to be very, very quiet. And how I found it hard doing nothing, struggling with those, realizing that I wasn't doing nothing because everything in my head was so busy that once I even got out of there, even more tired than if I would have been working out for 3 hours. So but after that, taming that and saying, okay, let's take control of those thoughts. So can you actually relax when you have to? Because there's one thing for sure, when I do slow down, I'm going to have to let go of everything else. And when you talk about be in the moment, if I'm with you guys, I'm trying to be in the moment. But when I'm with me, I'm going to have to try to be in that moment too, and say, okay, I'm with me now, so everything else is getting parked, and stop feeling guilty for not being productive, because that's probably what, like Karen, what fueled my over committing, is feeling guilty about how dare you sit down and do nothing for a few minutes. So it's it's allowing me that discovery of what does that look like.
It's interesting that you're talking about this, because what's coming to mind for me right now is just my experience over this past weekend. And I had a conversation on Thursday where somebody said to me the difference between what do you want to do versus what should you be doing. And I have all these responsibilities around the house, getting ready for winter, the gardening, all like the yard maintenance stuff. And that's all the should stuff that I need to be doing around the house, but it's not necessarily what I want to be doing. So knowing that those things need to take place, there has to be some way for you to kind of balance it off, between balancing off the needs of me and what I want to be doing versus the things that just out of circumstance have to get done by somebody at some point. So I ended up having to kind of let go of one day as a should day of things I needed to do. And then the other day was more about me. What do I need that's going to make me feel less anxiety going into my next week for my work stuff? And what do I need to do for me to keep me feeling good and healthy inside? Because I'm just getting over COVID over the past couple of weeks. So there's more responsibility of feeding and nourishing the body of me so that I can be, while still balancing off some of the should responsibilities.
I'd like to add something in, because this is really helpful, by the way. Thanks for agreeing to be here today. It's about making a decision. Like being in indecision takes a lot of energy. And because I wasn't sleeping, I was getting mad at myself. But then the second night, I decided to accept that I'm not sleeping. And so I got up at 4:30 in the morning and went downstairs because I was feeding 50 people 2 meals that day. I had a group of volunteers coming in, and I typed up a schedule. Like I just had to, like, well, how's this going? So making a decision that all these thoughts are floating around in my head. I'm not sleeping. Stop beating yourself up. Get up. What's going to make you feel better, Karen? What's your body wanting to do? And so I did the schedule up and I brought it in. And this was interesting for me, how that behavior, that decision for myself, the ripple effect it had on the people that came and volunteered. So I had a group of volunteers in the morning, and I got a beautiful message from this volunteer at the end of the day saying, I really enjoyed working with you. You're really organized. It was fun. I felt like I was adding value and making a difference. If you need me to volunteer anytime in the future, I'd be happy to work with you. I enjoy working with you. Let me know. And then in the afternoon, there were another group brand new to the club, so no relationship with even the curling club, but we're a volunteer club getting ready for the afternoon. They had the same schedule, and the same thing happened at the end of the day. They were having so much fun together, but they were being very productive because I had this beautiful little production map. And what it allowed me to do, and just building on the body, my body was exhausted because I hadn't been sleeping. And I said, can I put my feet up? I've been on my feet for 2 days. And they said, yeah, sit down. So I had a hot water, sat there and just watched them, getting everything done. So I thought, okay, I don't have to do it all. And just by dumping all that out, it made a huge difference on my well-being, and it allowed them to fully contribute. So yeah, it's a lesson learned again, that instead of being mad that I wasn't sleeping, I did something with the time to help me feel better when I was going to be in action during the day. I made it useful and I stopped beating myself up.
Mm-hmm. There's something empowering about making that decision that when you're stuck in indecision, it's like a floundering that goes on, and you waste so much energy in the space of should I or shouldn't I, and that kind of thing. And for me, that comes down to not having enough information. So I think it's interesting that your decision of I'm just going to get up and I'm going to create my schedule, that's the information that you needed to kind of smooth out your morning and day, and to be able to kind of relax into your the day that was coming, and then to be able to maybe that even opened you up more to be able to ask for a little bit of relief later in the day when you needed it, because you didn't get the sleep that you needed.
And the other thing that I did, which was interesting for me, and then Mark, I'd like to hear your response. This was interesting about working together. When I met the volunteers, I said, I'm new at this. This is my first year, because the year before we were not able to open the kitchen because of COVID. So I said, I'm learning. Here's what I think we should do. I'm wide open for something different. So I know between the 4 of us, we've got a lot of brain power here and experience. So if it needs to be different, so I gave them room to have shared ownership of that piece of paper that I had mapped out all the times and what we needed to do. It was helpful because I talk about this a lot, that structure, there's a balance between too much structure and no structure. So I wanted to make sure that what I'd written wasn't like this tight structure for them, that they couldn't be themselves or add in their flavor of how to make this a successful day. So that was another, because that's core in who I am. You know that, Mark, Ian and Mark, I want to make sure I'm inclusive, because I've been trying to unlearn, as you know, for the last 3 years, that it doesn't have to be all structured to be successful. I'm still working on that practice, but it was the invitation and I was not attached to it. What are you thinking, Mark?
I can't help but give here. I'll try to turn on the camera for this one. So I'm going to stop now for a minute. So I can't help but agree on the decision part and the conscious decision part. And for me, that shows up in a haunting way with words from, and I've told you before, my friend Mark Black, who entrenched in me the get to have to state change. So that decision for me is changing it from I have to I get to. In even the smallest of things, like 2 days ago, oh, I have to do the carrots because I got so many carrots and I got to freeze them and get them out of the ground and clean them and cut them and blanch them and freeze them. And it was that getting up and saying I have to, and then I snapped out of it and I say I get to do the carrots because I'm fortunate because I have the carrots. So that state change is that decision for me of I have to I get to. And guess what? If I can't find a reason to say I get to, then I should probably question why I'm doing that. Because if I cannot find a valid I get to do this, that's my cue that I might just have. It might be time to abandon that thing. It might be that extra thing that I'm not convinced it's not core for me. It's not important for me, and or it's not important for somebody else, or it's fluff. But doing carrots was important. I said I get to do carrots, and now I realized I had more carrots than I needed. So now I get to share them with the neighbors. It's funny, you're picking carrots for yourself and you're going, oh, this back-breaking work. All of a sudden, you're going to give them away to somebody and you get a lot of good feelings about that. It's not work anymore. And you picked like twice as much and it was not even the work. So everything is perspective. So the decision part for me really resonates.
Something that was popping up for me, Karen, is the the fact that structure is so important to you and having a framework to work with. And Mark and I have been the recipients of the most supportive flows in roadmaps because of you, because of that structure. It allows us to play within the bounds of that structure, but it's not confining. It's like a support mechanism to things working out. And I find it interesting because you creating structure is a practice of yours that supports you in being able to show up and be the way that you want to be. And the fact that you're able to now be even more malleable now because you created a structure, you have a basic flow, and this is how I want things to go, but I'm okay if things kind of morph and twist outside of that. But it's supporting your being, and even getting you up in the morning at 4:30 and creating a flow allowed you to be more present in how you showed up, and created an environment for other people to be more joyful or whatever, more playful in the act of doing all the tasks that you guys needed to do. Are you aware of when that came up, like how you came up with the practice? I guess where I want to go with this is how do you come up with these practices that serve you in becoming present?
Well, I became very aware when my coaching program of the Enneagram is a tool that we are introduced to. It's a tool you can go on and it's free. That's why I really like the tool, and it's really been life-changing for me. And Enneagram 7s are called the enthusiasts. When they're unhealthy, so we have levels of healthiness. And when I'm stressed, I become very scattered. And that is my trigger. So I'm more aware that scattered behavior is unhealthy for me. I could see its impact on others. So I developed the ability to stop when I know I'm doing that and to put it into a structure. I was never much of a list person, but now I know that list, I love the phone because you can go into the notes and do it right there versus trying to find a piece of paper, which I often lost. So even though I did it, I couldn't find it, and that was made me more scattered. So I love that I have the phone that I can do that now and get it out. So I realized the value, and so it was a practice I integrated, putting more structure in my way to be. It's kind of balancing my ability to be impromptu, my ability to like having multiple things happening around me. It just has grounded that in a way that, because I don't want to be present for myself. I think, Mark, you said that man, when I'm absent from myself, like Mark said, like when it's my quiet time and I'm absent from enjoying the quiet time for me, like that's just not a good decision. There's the word again, right? So the structure of that has allowed me, so I found my own practice that says when I'm scattered, here's what I have to do in order to get myself grounded again. And that's what's missing right now for me, this has really helped me, is I've made some decisions in here or in here, but I'm not expressing them to the people that I need to express them to now. That's what I'm not going to do. And that's probably my last part of this last couple of weeks, the way life has unfolded. Because I think I mentioned that I helped my girlfriend who was in very, very much distress over a move. And I made a conscious decision thinking, okay, she needs me. This other stuff is stuff. She's a human and I want to help this human. So it kind of started back then.
Yes, the want versus the should. I want to help her. I don't need to be doing these other things.
Yeah. But again, the missing piece, and this would be a practice for me to think about more, to create a little bit more of a habitual way, is how do I make sure I inform others that I've made this choice without, so I don't negatively impact what they want to get done and our relationship. And you are one of them, Ian, you know that. So it's important that I loop back. And I missed a couple of beats again on that. So that's probably where today it's like, okay, that's the next development for me, is doing that more, I don't know, that quickly isn't the right word, but authentically, right? Doing it in support of what I'm choosing not to do.
I really hope you're not beating yourself up over that, because it all starts with awareness, right? So you're becoming more aware that whatever is building up inside of you that needs to be expressed, but until you almost like bump your head up against the wall enough to realize I've been bumping my head up against the wall. Oh, now I can express that or share that with Ian or Mark or whomever needs to be, whatever that decision is that you come up to, right? So it's having enough information to make the decision. And I think some of that's just the buildup of the curation of the information that you needed to be able to make the decision. So you're like, yeah, that's a kind of a clue. That's kind of a clue. Okay, now there's enough pieces that I can put together that go, yeah, this is my decision and I'm done, or whatever it is, right? So yeah, it's okay. You have to be aware before you can make any sort of change.
No, I try not to be too hard on myself when the famous saying, wherever you go, there you are. We return to, our habits come back. The ones that we're trying to change, they reoccur, especially when we're in high stress. Our body we just lose our ability to. So it's having the conversation though, and knowing, okay, and that's, I think we talked about the declaration, how I love that one, because it's not about beating yourself up, it's to remind yourself, this is the way you want to be. Yeah, it's just that cycle of when there's urgency of things. And for me now in my life, there's just been some incidences of some stuff that people have not had in their control, and they need you.
Mark, you've been in and out, so is there anything you wanted to contribute to that?
I have been in and out, but I've been mesmerized by the sharing here today. It's funny how we haven't spoken for a while. Then we came
Yeah,
back with
sorry about that.
no, but we came back with similar challenges. Like today, it's as if we were sharing the same portion of our journey in challenges. Even when you and I started talking, our before Karen came on about our being out of breath and needing to slow down, and it seems like it's to Karen's point, it's a theme right now.
You are not alone. We are not alone. We're all going through similar things. And I think that's why we all relate well. And I think it's because we maybe are so intertwined with our lives and how much we stay connected, that it's like if we're hitting a bump in the road, we're all kind of on that journey together, and we're all experiencing our own version of what that disturbance is. I mean, we're trying to put together courses and things like that, and things fall through, and people get offered jobs, and like there's just a lot of change and opportunity for growth when those things happen. And I think we're just kind of on the same journey together in some capacity, and we're going to have our own version of that similar instance.
What I was thinking about today before we get on the call, I almost feel like it's time to have another community conversation with our people that have been part of what we do in our work. Like, where is everyone at right now? We did this, a year ago. Remember we ran the community gatherings, and I feel like if I'm feeling this way, and Mark's got this, and you've got this, I wonder if there is a pattern out there,
like a collective shakeup.
I wonder again, so I can say for sure, and what I notice right now is our little partner COVID, is riding along beside us in the fall, and there's lots of concern and worry popping up again. And so I feel like maybe we're not alone. So what do we need now? We asked that question a year ago. We've kind of fun to create. So I'd like to explore that again, to put it out there rather. I love these coaching coffee and conversations, and what we're doing is sharing there. But I wonder if there's an opportunity for us to say, maybe we need a fall 2022 check-in. We did it last year, to see what's the same and what's different.
I do a bi-weekly call, and the topic this last week was listening to what you need. So I think it's on target, at least for where I'm at right now, and the things that I'm exploring and things that I feel I need to be doing. So I can't imagine that that's not at least rattling around with other people at the same moment in time.
And it's what I like about the idea of just checking in is there's no action.
Right. It's a relationship conversation. It's not, hey, so what workshop do we need to put on to make you right, or whatever the case may be, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no call to action per se, but it's another opportunity to connect, find out where people are at, where people are wanting or needing, or whatever they need to kind of voice right now.
What I appreciated about what you did there, and Mark, I'll get you to add in, I really appreciated you asking me after I talked about my situation, like, what practice? So, because it's helping me know what practice I need to add in these times for me. That was really useful. It's the what's missing part, right? And so this is where I'm still feeling wobbly. And I know, given the environment, the container, and things that are happening around my world, this is a piece I want to build some more capacity around, and build some confidence and confidence around. That was useful.
Well, part of my intention for that was, and it's a big reason of why I do a lot of the work that I do, is wanting to help people to come up with their way, whatever that is for them, so that they can adapt those practices that work for them in the circumstances that affect their life. And sometimes it's a reminder that, oh, I have not been doing that thing that really serves me. It could be meditation or writing or art or something, whatever it is that you need, that you kind of have forgotten about or put aside or let slide, and things build up over time, and it's like we forgot that that thing served us or supported us in some way. So that was part of kind of my hidden ulterior motive for asking you why, what was the practice, or how does that practice serve you, like where did that come from? Because the best tools, our best support, generally comes from within.
I agree. I agree. I think our practice is, Karen said it many times a few minutes ago, being. So that in itself is a practice. It's also a bit what I was sharing earlier about just sitting there. But it just occurred to me, it'd be pretty funny if we said, okay, let's get the community together to maybe check in about how they are being in these busy times, changing times. And the response could be, well, I'd love to, but I'm too busy. That would be really telling, and I wouldn't be surprised if that wouldn't be too far from the truth. So if anybody's listening to this right now and that's you, well, that's when you need to chime in. Absolutely. Because that's me.
Raise your
If you're
hand.
calling me and says, hi, you know, yeah, I really like to sit and talk about how busy I am, but I'm too busy to find time. I think we need, I think that's our clue. That maybe our way of being is where our focus needs to be.
I love that question as the start. And then as I was listening to you, Ian, I thought we could then have people reflect. So that would be a way of emptying a cup. The first thing you just asked us, Mark. And then reflect on, knowing that what I know now, what do I need to start again? Because we have good practices. We've just forgotten. You made that comment, Ian. What do we need to do more of? If we're already doing it, but we need to do it more often. And the third one is, what do we need to develop? So you can find out areas of growth for yourself. Mm-hmm. I think that could be a very powerful conversation for people at the individual level, and if we got into some group work at the group level. And then wouldn't that be cool if the system would, the whole group would kind of share in a document or in a chat room what they're walking away with, so that we'd have how many number that join us, we'd be sharing our practices. Because that's what I would say, I'm being asked to do that more and more in organizations, is to help people get engaged in conversations again with each other. Because not only do we have our own answers individually, we have our own answers how to as a team, and we have our own answers as an organization. We're getting back to what one of our core belief systems are, is it's a non-expert model. Is that if we tap into the depth and the wealth of human beings, Mark, there's a lot there. We just need to ask the questions and give them the space to share it. And then people get to take what resonates with them. And I really like hearing other people's ways, because it takes the burden of me trying to figure it out all on my own.
And I think part of the reason that is like maybe you intuitively know what it is that you need for yourself, but when you hear someone else say it, like there's a resonance with, that's the thing that I've been avoiding or forgetting or needing for myself. And that might be enough of a spark of inspiration to start doing something in that vein again, or in a new way. But yeah, you don't have to be alone in the process of it. But when something resonates with you, it's like kind of your internal indicator that that's where I need to focus my energy right now. And that can't always be done in your siloed, alone at home, away from everybody life, like this office, which nothing gets through this wall, right? It's just me.
Well, you know what we say, our thoughts are like a bad neighborhood. Don't go there alone.
Yeah.
And although what we choose to do to, you know, bring our beingness, whatever that is, to how we want to show up, that's something we have to find our own way alone, but we don't have to do it by ourselves. And so it's a kind of a, it's not grammatically correct the way I say that, but I know it resonates with people. It's your own way, like you say, Ian. You find your own way, but boy, we can benefit from just the experience of what people say, and hence why we enjoy each other as we continue to learn. And like I say, Mark, thank you for not unblocking this time. As you, I asked you to keep it in your calendar. We were supposed to do a workshop today, and we ended up not doing it because I said I need the two of you right now. Can we have a coaching coffee and conversations time slot?
And even life wanted to, and even if life wanted to throw me a curveball and having to do some mechanical acrobatic moves here, it worked out. It's funny. It's funny. I was like in holy crap mode because I was like, oh, calls the, yeah, I'm not gonna make the call. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna send a picture. I sent him a picture of the
stalled car.
Of the stalled car requiring assistance. But no, it works out and it's amazing. It always is amazing.
What's your takeaway today?
It never ceases to amaze me, the generosity that you two have towards others. And we could sit here and we could say, okay, we're going to do this. And, you know, we need our time and let's, you know, we're in holy crap mode and we need maybe a few more sessions between us to ground ourselves and we need more time. No, right away we went to, hey, let's invite others into this and check in on them, see how they're doing. So that generosity is my takeaway on how the reason behind everything is as important as the actions themselves. And wanting to be of service is never ceases to amaze me how you two are generous in that respect.
Thanks, Mark. My practice is still saying thank you. Actually receiving something. I kind of have this weird COVID-y brain foggy thing, so I don't find like I'm finding my words as easily as I'd like. However, I came into our conversation feeling a little like anxious and short of breath, and knowing that I needed to take some me time in order to kind of center and get through that so I could focus on the things I needed to do the rest of the day. But just in having this space to listen and to be heard and to get a couple of things out, even though they're pretty generic, it has lowered my anxiety level. It has calmed me down, and it's kind of given me that centered space that I didn't have 45 minutes ago. And that's a gift in itself. So it's a reminder to myself that you don't have to do it by yourself in a meditative state in the corner of a dark room. You can do it through having open communication with other people and kind of empty your cup in that capacity, and then give yourself a chance to be able to breathe again because of that space and time and intention.
Well, I just want to say Mark is equally generous of serving others. So I don't want to say it's just me and I. I think that's the common ground we all something you have in common, which is why we did this YouTube page and videos. But for me, it's like being able to tell my truth. I was anxious, I was sleeping, I was all over the place, I was letting people down, like, and just being able to empty that part of the cup and not hold it in anymore. So powerful, because it allowed me to open up and find out, like, well, that's not my way I want to show up. That's not my way of being. Yet it happens, and it's part of where I was at, and just knowing that I did some things for myself in that time that were valuable for my own well-being, but also served others. But now looking back, it allowed me to see that. So even when we're in holy shit mode, there's a goodness inside of us showing up.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. Thank you for this.
Thank you.
And we'll see you, I don't know when we do it next.
We're talking Wednesday. We're doing the feedback model. Wednesday.
Right, but I mean for us, for them out there in the universe.
In that world, yeah. Well, maybe a community gathering will be in their email box.
Sounds good. All right.
Okay.
Take care, everybody.
Bye, Mark.